Hi, in this video I'm going to take a look at how to use User MLUTs in the FX9 as well as the camera's dedicated HDR mode. When using the CINE EI mode, depending on how the camera is set up, it can apply a monitor lookup table or MLUT to the viewfinder, HDMI and SDI outputs to simulate how the footage may look after it's been color graded. The default MLUT in the FX9 is the same S-Cinetone LUT as used by the Sony Venice camera. From version 2, as well as the built-in MLUTs, you can load up to 16 User 3D Cube MLUTs into the camera. To load a User MLUT into the camera, first the 3D Cube LUT files must be placed in the correct folder of an SD card, and that card will then be placed in the camera's utility card slot. The easiest way to do this is to first format the SD card in the camera, as this will build the correct folder structure on the card. Your chosen MLUT should then be placed in the Sony Pro LUT folder. Then put the SD card back in the camera. To load an MLUT into one of the camera's 16 User MLUT memory slots, go to Shooting, Monitor 3D LUT and Load SD card. Then choose the memory slot that you wish to use for your LUT and press the Select button. Next, select the LUT from the SD card that you wish to copy to the camera and press Select. The MLUT will now be copied to the camera's internal memory. To enable the User MLUT, go to Monitor LUT, Category, User 3D MLUT and select the LUT that you wish to use from the list of loaded LUTs. Like the camera's internal LUTs, there are some restrictions as to whether LUTs can be applied to the outputs separately from the internal recording. Generally, when you're shooting UHD or 4K and outputting in HD, you can have an MLUT on the outputs and in the viewfinder while you're continuing to record S-Log3 internally. But if you wish to output 4K or UHD, it's not possible to separate the internal recordings from the SDI and HDMI outputs. However, it is now possible to apply an MLUT to the viewfinder and any proxy recordings by enabling the Monitor LUT option. When shooting in HD, it's not possible to record S-Log3 and at the same time apply an MLUT to the output or viewfinder. As an alternative, however, you can use the FX9's Viewfinder Display Gamma Assist function to apply a Rec 709 type look to your footage in the viewfinder. For more information on the CINE EI mode, please do watch the FX9 guide video to CINE EI. Another feature to be included from version 2 is a dedicated HDR mode. In version 1, the camera had two shooting modes, Custom and CINE EI. Now the camera has three modes, SDR, HDR and CINE EI. The SDR mode is exactly the same as what was previously called Custom mode. The new HDR mode is dedicated to shooting in HDR using hybrid log gamma. To switch mode, go to Project and Base Settings. Once in HDR mode, the camera's base gamma changes to hybrid log gamma or HLG. HLG is a special hybrid gamma curve designed to make it possible to shoot high quality, high dynamic range images quickly and easily. HLG also offers a degree of compatibility with existing standard dynamic range or SDR monitors. When shooting HLG, your content can be directly viewed in HDR on a suitable HDR TV, and although optimized for HDR, it can also be viewed on an SDR monitor or SDR TV. There are two different HLG looks in the FX9. You can change these in the Paint settings under Paint and HDR Look. The default look is HDR Live. HDR Live is designed to produce vibrant, bright and dynamic HDR images directly from the camera. It'll provide a look that is similar to a normal SDR 709 type look, but in HDR with no further grading or adjustment. The HDR Live look would be a good choice if you don't want to adjust the material in post-production, or you're feeding the images live where they can't be changed or altered. The other look option is HLG Natural. HLG Natural provides a less contrasty, more neutral HDR look compatible with the BT2100 HDR standard. The HLG Natural look would be a good choice when you may wish to grade your footage or adjust it a little bit in post-production, or simply want a less dramatic look. The optimum exposure brightness levels for HLG are a little lower than those for Rec. 709 and other standard gammas. Personally, I find that where typically with Rec. 709 you may choose to expose a face at around 70%, when using HLG, a more pleasing result may be obtained by exposing faces at around 60%. It's important to not overexpose HLG, as overexposed HLG may look excessively bright when viewed on an HDR display. To help you get the correct exposure, when you select the HDR mode, the FX9's Viewfinder Display Gamma Assist function is enabled by default. This allows you to gain a good impression of how the HLG recordings will appear on an HDR monitor, even though the LCD screen on the FX9 is not a true HDR display. I recommend that you leave the Gamma Assist function on when shooting in the HLG mode, as overexposed HLG will look worse on an HDR monitor than on an SDR monitor, and the Viewfinder Gamma Assist function will help you to avoid this. Also in the paint settings, just as in the SDR mode, you have the ability to choose between different preset matrix settings under Paint, Matrix, Preset Matrix. The default S-Cinetone matrix will provide pleasing colours in most situations when your primary audience is going to watch your content using an SDR TV or monitor in SDR. If on the other hand your primary audience will be viewing your content on a Rec. 2020 compatible HDR TV or monitor, then you should consider selecting the Rec. 2020 matrix, as this will provide the most true-to-life colours for viewers viewing in HDR. The FX9's version 2 firmware update brings many great new features to the camera. Future updates will add even more features, including a Super 16mm sized center scan mode, support for B4 lenses with lens adapters, and S700 PTP remote control protocols, plus many other features.